Welcome to We Hear Her. I'm Erin Trenbeth Murray, and I'm here today with another amazing woman who is sharing her story and insights into life lessons learned. Hi, I'm Erin Trenbeth Murray, and welcome to the Women Who Succeed, We Hear Her podcast. It's been a little bit since we have been on, and we have a great new fresh design and set thanks to our good friend Brandy Vega at Vega Media Studio. So thank you, Brandy, for sharing this great space with us. Today, I am thrilled to get to talk to my friend Georgi, who is kind of a stand-up comedian / professor all in one, and her energy and light, anyone that knows her just adores her and gravitates towards her. But she's more than just a lot of fun. She also is incredibly intelligent and has quite an exemplary academic background. So let me tell you a little bit about Georgi, and then we're going to dive in. So I want to tell you that Dr. Georgi A. Rausch, is it pronounced Rausch? Rausch, yeah, is an associate professor, lecturer in the Department of Management at the David Eccles School of Business, University of Utah. Prior to joining the faculty at the University of Utah, she obtained her BA degree in Communication Studies and English Literature from the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and an MA in Organizational Communication from the University of Montana, and a PhD in Organizational Communication from the University of Utah. Before graduate school, she worked in advertising and media, which I was not aware of, which makes complete sense, planning at J. Walter Thompson in San Francisco, and in nonprofit development at the California Academy of Sciences. Dr. Rausch loves to incorporate mindfulness practices into communication and ethics instruction. She teaches topics such as public speaking, business ethics, and emotional intelligence to a broad variety of audiences and enjoys making these topics practical, relevant, and engaging. Georgi has published her research in Business and Professional Communication Quarterly and is the recipient of multiple teaching awards, including the Maven J. Ashton Teaching Excellence Award, the Brady Faculty Superior Teaching Award, the Daniels Fund Leadership in Ethics Education Award, and the Ethics Club Being a Difference Award, chosen by the students of the Eccles School, which I bet is one of her proudest accomplishments to be selected by the students, knowing Georgi. So with that, welcome, Georgi, and amazing. Good job, Georgi.
Thank you.
That is quite a background, and we're going to get into why I'm teasing you a little bit about the good job, Georgi.
Oh, I love it.
That's one of my favorite. That's one of my favorite intros. In fact, why don't we just start? Let's just jump right in.
Okay.
Let's just do that. So you're at the U. You have a variety of roles and responsibilities. And where I first met you was, I believe, you were lecturing in the Women in Leadership program through the Executive Education, also known Brooke Lenzen, Women Who Succeed member. And you shared with the group an element of when you give yourself positive reinforcement and encouragement. Can you speak to a little bit about that for me?
Oh my goodness. I love that you're bringing this up. This is something that I do. I do it all day long. I do it every day. And I'm constantly pep talking myself because I think I had such a long period in my life where I beat myself up and I was a perfectionist, and I would make myself cry by just thinking of all the things I could have done better, and I could have done this better, and I could have said this better, and I could have gotten a higher grade on this test, and I just really made myself miserable. And then I realized, I could have this inner coach, and I'm still going to always have this inner critic, and it has a place in my life, but I could develop this inner coach. So then I started learning about mindfulness. I started learning about self-compassion, and I created this inner voice that was this coach that just told me that I was doing a good job when I was doing a good job. I'm not always doing a good job.
But the funny part of that is when you finished the lecture, I loved it so much. And I went back to my team, and it just felt more right to say, good job, Georgi, than it did to say, good job, Erin.
So we kind of became this cultural thing in our office that we would tell each other or tell ourselves, good job, Georgie. And our name was not even Georgie. We just loved it so much.
I mean, that makes me so happy. I can't even tell you.
You would do things, you would share examples like, anything from I just climbed this mountain. Good job, Georgie.
Yeah.
To I didn't spill my coffee this morning.
Yeah.
Good job, Georgie.
Yeah. I really think that's true. I mean, sometimes when you're on a podcast or you're thinking about your career and you're like, oh, I need to share these big insightful moments about these like peak experiences that I've had, like mountain climbing or a PhD or something. But really a lot of the times it's like, oh, it's the week before winter break and I got out of bed and made it to class,
Right.
like, good job. Like all the students are tired. They're in finals, everyone's stressed, and I'm stressed too. But I put on my outfit and I brought the energy and wow, like good job, Georgie.
Right? I do it when I'm like, yay, I changed the laundry.
Right.
Good job, Erin. So I think all the women and the young women that are hearing the podcast and are watching, that's something really simple and easy to incorporate. And I still remember that from, I think, 3 or 4 years ago. Really stuck with me. And it reminds me of, the Bugs Bunny cartoons in the old days, they'd have the little devil and then the little angel, right? Talking on the two sides. But I think a lot of women often have more of the negative or the criticism that's happening in their head. And we maybe don't make as much space for our own self-talk of saying, I'm doing great. I'm doing the best I can.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be a good person. I'm trying to get it all done. I'm trying to be a good friend, daughter, wife, whatever, colleague. And I just love that natural encouragement. Do you have any other words of wisdom of that you'd want to share with the ladies listening?
Well, I totally relate to what you're saying. And I think teaching in the Women in Leadership certificate program has been so fun and meeting all these amazing women. And I think there's 2 things I want to say. Like, number one, that we share this, that whenever I talk to the women in leadership, these women that are doing amazing things, it's a common experience that we're all trying to be good, a good mom, a good parent, a good friend, a good boss. And it's great to have aspirations, but there's also the common humanity of being a mother is challenging. I'm not a mother but I work with so many mothers and I see like it's common among them that that's a challenging thing to do. And it's challenging to be a boss, and it's challenging to be a teacher, and it's challenging to be a friend, and it's challenging to be a daughter. And when we start saying I have to be a good one, that's when a lot of this suffering happens. So I really think that especially for young people, I try to teach them like, you're a friend, you're a daughter, you're a student, and you can have aspirations and goals, but to constantly being like, I have to be good at everything all the time is too much pressure.
It's pressure, especially if it's beyond being good, but it's like perfect.
Perfect.
It's gonna be perfect.
Right?
I had last night, I was at a restaurant and I had been there just 4 or 5 days ago. And I had one of the worst days that I've had in months. And I was a total grouch, and we had a reservation and it wasn't ready. And then they forgot about us. And we, sat for 45. I was a grouch and not super nice, not my best self that I would be proud of. And then my husband was out of town. So I went last night. I was like, I'm going to stop there and have dinner myself again. And they remembered me. And the waitress was like, my son served you the other night. And I said to her, I'd like you to, is he here tonight? She said, no. And I said, could you extend my apology? I was not my best self. And I am sorry that if I behaved badly or was not very kind. And she was so full of grace and just said something to the effect of, you're doing the best you can. We all have those days, and it's totally fine. But it's nice when to hear you or her, another woman, kind of give feedback like we can't be and don't need to feel like we have to be perfect and good all the time.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
Little permission. Yeah.
It's so much pressure. It's exhausting. And for other people to give us grace like that woman did for you, that's so wonderful when you get that. You don't always get that, but I mean, as a communication PhD and as a communication instructor, I mean, repair is a communicative process. So that's a skill that we can build. We can build the skill of having empathy for people. We can build the skill of having compassion for someone that's having a bad day. We can build the skill of just trying to co-regulate an angry customer. We can build the skill of, if a customer is upset with us, that we can work through a repair process with them. Maybe that process is not always going to be clean and easy, but it is possible to come back from mistakes. I mean, you see it all the time. CEOs, business owners, mega billion-dollar movie stars, they make mistakes. They're just like us, right?
Just like us. Yeah.
Or we can't be on all the time. But there are these communicative tools that we can learn where it's like, yeah, in the times that we're not the way that we want to be and live up to the values that we want, that you're like, can I talk to your son? I would like to extend my apology. I would like to make a repair with him. And she's like, I would like to give you grace. And that's a really beautiful way to live with people, and to know that like these things, this is a normal part. So when I teach business ethics, I'm always telling students, like, it's not a matter of, is somebody going to do the wrong thing? It's a matter of, when is somebody going to do the wrong thing? Because they are going to do the wrong thing.
Because we're human.
Because we're human.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, I'd love if you would mind sharing with us your own personal values. I'm sure you have those highly crafted and defined.
Yeah.
Would you be up for that?
I'm up for that. So I do this with my students all the time. I have them create their own values, acronyms, or value statements. And my number one value, may be surprised, is fun.
I'm not surprised.
It's really important to me. And that may come as a surprise to some people, but I really highly value fun. I want to have a good time. My family was always like, have fun, have a good day, have fun. You know, how can we make this more fun? And so that's probably one of my number one values. And then my second top value is education. So that's teaching and learning. I'm constantly teaching new courses, but I also am constantly reading and learning and listening to podcasts and getting to know my students. So teaching and learning, so education. And then the third one, if I just do my top three, would be support. I really like to support other people. I like to be supportive. I like to learn best practices for supporting myself. And like a good job, Georgi, that's part of my values. Like I want to be able to support myself through the inevitable challenges that I'm going to face. And I've faced a lot.
Well, there's an opening. I thought you just laughed through life. I didn't know you had any challenges.
Do you think that you could maybe consider sharing one of the challenges, and then maybe the takeaway from that, good or bad, moving forward with your life's journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's been about a year now since my mom died last year. And my mom died in May of last year. And before she died, she actually had dementia. And we transitioned her to an assisted living facility. And when she was living in the assisted living facility, she fell, she got a traumatic brain injury. She came back from the traumatic brain injury. Amazing. And then she fell again. She broke her hip. Now she's got a brain injury, a broken hip, dementia. Yeah. And I have a sister, and I have 3 step siblings. And this process was just so challenging for our family. I mean, we were living in different places and trying to manage my mother's care and our own lives. And my mother was a real character, and she did some crazy things with her estate. And so then the siblings were left with this challenge to face. And I spent a year it was so hard to sleep because every night I was my body was tense because the phone would ring in the middle of the night, with like your mom yelled at the care worker, or, your brother's, wanting to sue you, or like all this stuff for like a year. It was just like so much tension and repairing and conflict. And I do like to have fun. I have a really good life. And it was just a year of, and as we all know, it was on the heels of COVID and my job. And so I really felt like last year I was like a dark night of the soul. I was like, my whole life is like torn in pieces. And like, I think I really survived because I had been able to practice these mindful techniques of like meditation or breathing or getting help, getting a therapist. But I mean, I sobbed and cried so much over the past year. I got angry at random people for random things, I mean, it was just a really, really challenging year. And now in retrospect, I can see like the common humanity in it, because the more people I talk to, the more it's like, oh yeah, my siblings and I got in fights too around the death of a parent or caretaking a parent. And I have just developed this like massive compassion for anyone that goes through those things now. And so that has definitely been my most recent challenge, and it was really ugly.
I'm so sorry. And I've talked to this year. It's been remarkable to me how many women and women who succeed have shared with me somewhat similar, and no one really prepares you as a, they talk about you with maybe getting your education and then maybe marriage or a child. And then everybody thinks, I think you're on autopilot and you're all good. But, it's really tough when your parents hit that stage. And then when the dynamics of siblings or money or healthcare come into play, it gets extremely emotional. So I appreciate you sharing that, because so many women, I'm sure, will be able to empathize and, be in alignment with what you're saying. Do you think, you've mentioned the compassion that you gained from that for other people in a similar situation. Is there anything else going forward in your life now that you're taking from those life lessons?
Well, I really have doubled down on my commitment to being curious about people, because a lot of times I think in these grouchy days, or me getting upset about very random things, I think that one of the lessons that I've learned is to kind of lean in and say, like, what's going on here? Like, are you actually okay? Because sometimes these surface conflicts have a deeper meaning, And actually, one of my students, Jordan, I was talking about this in class, like leaning in and just asking people, like, are you okay? Like, do I know everything? Do you want to talk to me about this? And she was saying, like, she worked at Starbucks, and that one of her customers that was a regular customer, like, yelled at her about a coffee order. And she said, I did that. I said to her, hey, Jane, I'm going to make you a new coffee, but are you doing okay? Like, is everything okay? And then she said, this woman was like, no, it's not. And my daughter's in the hospital, and we were in the emergency room all night, and I haven't slept. And that happens so much more often when you're willing to kind of push through that initial surface, cat scratch, and you're like, hey, not really like you to do that. Are you okay? And so that has served me really well, because I've been doing that. And even with my really close friends, I've noticed that they'll be like irritated with me, and I'll back way off, instead of saying like, hey, you're not usually acting this way. Is there something something else and giving people that invitation to be like, no, it's about something deeper. And if you're willing to listen to me, I'm going to tell you.
That's so generous. I mean, honestly, emotionally of you, because that's a lot to take on. And I appreciate being, so open to where other people are at their space and time. Your energy is my very favorite so much. I love how high energy you are and how fun. How do you balance that with your mindfulness?
Yeah.
Because to me, when I think of my brother is very mindful, but he's also very zen and quiet, more like never, his pace is tempoed. And does that complement? Does it conflict? Is it helpful? Talk to me a little bit about your high energy level and then your ability to calm yourself and to be mindful.
Yeah, it's interesting because sometimes I think I get this reputation. Like I went to a meeting one day and someone that I work with said, "Oh, it's Dr. Smiles. There you are, Dr. Smiles." And I've heard this like not once, but many times. Somebody said to me, "You're always so happy," And I thought to myself, well, this is the moment where I could really tell you the full story, but you kind of let it slide because it's casual and you're in a public situation. But of course, I'm not always happy, right? And I'm not always high energy. But I have really strong boundaries. And people who are really close to me, they'll tell you that. They'll be like, "Georgie," if you're like, "Georgie, do you want to go out?" I'll be like, "No, I'm going to bed at 8:00 tonight," and no, I'm not doing that. And I have lost a lot of friends. I've lost a lot of people because they don't like that about me. But I really fiercely guard my time. And so every morning I wake up at 6, I meditate, I journal every morning, I exercise with my dog, I dance Zumba, I do a lot of activity, I do a lot of journaling. I probably cry almost every day. I complete my stress cycle. This is like idea Emily Nagoski. She's this PhD who has this theory of completing your stress cycle. And you do that by meditation, activity, laughing, crying, physical affection. There's 7 ways that you can complete the stress cycle. And I actively do those things so that when I come to campus, when I come to work, I make a decision ahead of time. Like when I get out of my car at work, I am uplifting people. I am there to be a light. I am there to have fun, educate, teach, learn, support. And that's what I'm doing. But when I get in my car and go home, I'm crying. I stand in the mirror and I scream at people in the mirror. I do these things where I'm like, "That wasn't okay. You should have said that to me. And I don't like it." I'll do these like plays, but I do them with myself. I try not to hurt others, but I do all those things.
I love that. I love that. I could honestly.
And you can see it, right?
Oh, I could totally see it. I just haven't actually done that one in the mirror. I might have to do that.
Yeah, when I get angry, I'll punch my pillows on my bed and I'll stand in the mirror and I'll be like, "That wasn't okay. You shouldn't have said that to me."
On that note, maybe not as dramatic, but
high energy mindfulness.
Yeah, exactly. It is. When people say things, or maybe they're not giving feedback.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me a little bit about receiving feedback with your extensive background and your own personal life journey and studying and listening to podcasts and everything in communications and effective communications. Maybe speak to that a little bit.
Oh, yeah, because I've been teaching now, I think, 19 years total. I've been at the Eccles School for 11. I've been at the U for 16. Before that, I was at University of Montana. Thousands of people have told me what they think of me.
What they think of me.
I get every semester, it's like hundreds of comments about me and my style and the way I teach and the way I don't teach and the things I say and the things I don't say and the way I dress.
Oh, yeah.
and the way I look. And it's really interesting. I think when I first started off, when I was younger, I took everything really personally, and
Sure.
I believed everything. And this is anonymous feedback, right? You don't even know who it's coming from. And they you should do more group work. You should do less group work. You should, have this speaker. You shouldn't talk about this. You should talk about this. And so over the years, I have really come to terms with all feedback is not valuable feedback. It's just noise. So you have a lighthouse, which is your values. You have a lighthouse, which is like with the lighthouse keeper, with the good job, Georgie person on your shoulder. You have people like you, like a lot of my coworkers, people that I deeply, deeply admire. They're in my lighthouse, right? And if they've got something to offer me, I'm all ears. But there's a signal, and that's the signal that I listen to. Then there's a ton of noise. So I used to teach in College of Engineering for a few years too. And I'm really like in love with this idea of the signal and noise. And if you are living a life that I do not admire or I do not want to emulate, I'm not listening to you.
Right?
But you can keep talking.
And maybe someone will see you as the lighthouse for them. You're not my lighthouse.
Well, and conversely, right? I tell my students all the time, I say, like, you do not have to listen to me. You can take this information as a lesson that I'm teaching and then apply it to your life. See if it works. See if it's useful for you. If it's not, maybe it's noise. I mean, I say a lot of things, Erin,
I say a lot of things. I love every word.
But not everyone does, and I think that's fine. So I always ask myself the question: Do you have the results that I want? So if it's someone like one of my colleagues, like Dr. Brian Bonner, I just adore him, and my colleague Dr. Jeff Rose, I adore him, and Kate Kanyas, who's my teaching partner and really dear friend. Right? If one of those people is like, Georgie, I noticed this, and this is something you could work on. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to get my journal out and work on that.
I believe it. I will. Yeah. Well, Georgie, just there's so much. I mean, we could sit here for days on end, but more so what people should do is really consider taking the Women in Leadership, either the symposium, a full day, or what other courses are you offering up there that you're teaching? I want to put a little plug in for that before we end today's podcast, because to take a class from you is really invigorating. It really is super insightful.
Oh, I'm so glad. I love working with you. And if anyone wants to take a class with me, I teach in the undergraduate program at the Eccles School in the Department of Management. So I teach business ethics. I teach business communication. And I also teach an elective called Mindful Managing and Workplace Wellness.
Ooh, love that.
That's my newest course, and we're having a lot of fun with that.
I bet.
So those are my undergrad classes. In the MBA program, I teach business communication. So it's a advanced public speaking and writing course. And then in executive education, I'm in the Women in Leadership Certificate program. I also do open enrollment course on mindfulness. And then we are creating a brand new class. It's going to be in February of 2024. And it's Habits of Success for Leaders. And that's anyone, co-ed, men, women, any executive that wants to take that class. That's in February.
Hey, sign me up.
Yeah, I'm so excited because I'm really, it's going to be all about different habits that you can develop as a leader for success. And mindfulness is one of the big ones.
For
you
sure.
need to have a mindfulness practice. And there are tons of different types of practices, but we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about having fun and playing, and how fun and play and creativity should definitely be a big part of your life. That's a signal you need to follow.
Wow.
More fun.
More fun. That's smart. Well, thank you, Georgie, so much for your
You're so
time today. You have a very full plate, and it is truly a privilege to have you in my circle of friends, and for you to allow me to be in yours. I'm really grateful for that.
See.
So that is it for today's podcast for the We Hear Her with Women Who Succeed. Please join us next time, and you can always look at our website, womenwhosucceed.org, for more information. Thank you for taking the time to hear her. Join our efforts and learn more about Women Who Succeed at womenwhosucceed.org.